Hi, friends. Welcome to the Friends of Franz podcast. In this safe space, we are favored in each episode with the presence of an expert guest from different fields and specialties as we learn about their life journeys, their successes, possible regrets, and realizations, their work, why they do what they do, and even their life outside of work. In here, we tear down common myths and misinformation with up-to-date, evidence-based science and data simplified for anyone to digest. We don't shy away from topics that can sometimes be polarizing or taboo. We normalize the humanization of healthcare and its workers, and we promote the importance of self-care and safeguarding your mental health. Please keep in mind that the conversations in this podcast are for educational and informational purposes only. They are not implied or intended to be a substitute for professional medical diagnosis, advice, or treatment. Please always seek the advice of your physician or other qualified healthcare providers regarding a medical condition. Are you ready? Let's go! Hi, it's February 10th. In about 4 days, it's Valentine's Day, my favorite day of the year. But before that, it's February 10th, it's a Friday, and you know what that means. Another episode of the Friends of Franz podcast. Episode 8 of the second season. And one word to describe today's episode, it's just cute. Just adorable. And I mentioned Valentine's Day earlier, not only because I am bitter that I have been single. I'm just kidding. It's because we are joined today by a couple. Yes, our expert guests for today's episode are a couple. But before we get into who they are and their work and the amazing things that they have created, I wanted to give a backstory on how this episode came to be. I think around early spring last year of 2022, I was scrolling down the Facebook group Asian Hustle Network. If you don't know what that is, it's basically a community building of entrepreneurs and creators within the Asian American Pacific Islander community. That's headed and founded by Brian and Maggie. Hello, friends. And so I was scrolling down and I saw a post by someone named Brandon Pham, who's one of our guests, and he was an ophthalmology resident physician. And he posted how he and his girlfriend, Betty Nguyen, a third year medical student at that time, created a book series for children called Medical School for Kids. And immediately I was like, this is the cutest thing ever. And I was just brought back to the times when I was a kid. As I always say, I grew up with my mom, who's been a nurse for 30 years. Anyways, so I grew up with her and obviously her healthcare textbooks, her encyclopedias, and her nursing textbooks. And so I grew up reading a lot of science books. And I guess that's what cultivated my interest and my passions for science and even my childhood dream of becoming a physician. I would open up encyclopedias and look for the bones section and try to pronounce the names, which I couldn't. But I just love learning more about the human body and even the world around me in general. There was even a time I think I wanted to be a marine biologist, but I didn't know how to swim, even until now. But yeah, so I saw Brandon's post and I was like, this is so cute. And I should have had this when I was a kid. Again, the nearest thing that I had to a science for kids book was an encyclopedia. And there was really nothing specific for the human body, nothing about ophthalmology, nothing about the eyes or the skin specifically. It was all a general sense. And it was just bits and pieces inside textbooks and dictionaries. So I reached out to Brandon and I said, wow, this is so cute. You know, I'm a nurse. And at that time, I was reviewing for the MCAT in the process of applying for medical schools. And he said, I would love to share this on my platform and then on my podcast, which is how this episode came out to be. So Brandon, who is so nice, connected me with Betty as well. And we planned the whole live stream episode on Instagram to talk about their books. And then when I was visiting their Instagram page for the books, MD. For Kids, I saw that one of my close friends, Kimmy, and also Karen, who I met through Kimmy, I was like, oh, do they know Betty and Brandon? And then I stumbled upon Betty's Instagram profile and it was followed by Karen. And I was like, oh, did they know each other? So I messaged Kimmy with the screenshot of the books and I said, oh, does Karen know Betty? And do you know Betty? And she said, you know, Betty is Karen's cousin. And I was like, what? Such a small world. The year prior, I actually went with Kimmy and Karen to Las Vegas and we were like partying for like 2 nights straight, even though I didn't really drink. But we were partying and we even went to this water pool party like the night before my flight back to New York. And I was taking organic chemistry at that time, and I had to take like my organic chemistry final in the airport. This is a story for another day. Anyways, I was like, such a small world that someone who I found on Asian Hustle Network is actually the cousin of my friend. And yeah, fast forward, we recorded this podcast episode that you'll be listening to in a bit. And then we realized another serendipitous occasion was about to happen. That weekend of the week of the episode recording, I was gonna go to Boston to meet Dr. Daniel Sugay. Hi, Dr. Sugay. We don't know him. Dr. SPF on TikTok. We manage his YouTube channel together. 200K followers. Woo. And also, he was in the second episode of the first season of this podcast. Anyways, I was going to meet Dr. Sugay at Boston that weekend to celebrate 100K on YouTube and getting the Silver Button Award. So found out that that was also the weekend of AAD, American Academy of Dermatology. They have a conference. And Betty, who was applying to dermatology residency, was also attending that conference, which Dr. Sugay was also attending. Long story short, we all met up in Boston that weekend. And we all had dinner with other dermatologists that Dr. Sugay trained with at Harvard Medical School. And we had some cannolis afterward. And all this to say that it was such a journey, a serendipitous journey to have brought to you this episode today. We are joined again by the co-authors, physician couple, Betty and Brandon, medical school for kids, both such lovely and kind and humble people who are so accomplished. They both went to UCLA for their undergrad. Then they separated ways during medical school. Brandon went to Stanford, while Betty went to UC Riverside, and she did research fellowship at University of Miami in the Department of Dermatology and Cutaneous Surgery, in which she actually presented her paper about hair loss in the AAD conference. She's actually recently named by Doximity as the top 10% most published clinician. Look at that. And Brandon, who is an ophthalmology medical resident and was a recipient of the National Barry Goldwater Scholarship in UCLA in 2016, and also a student fellow in the lupus research, Gina M, Finzi. And I'm just so both amazed by these two and just am in love with their work, not just as people in medicine, but as children's book authors who are seeking to bring about early learning for science and appreciation for the medical field in the next generation of physicians and also nurses and other people in the healthcare field. Are you ready for today's episode? Here we go!
Hey, Chris, how's it going?
I'm excited for you to be here. Thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, thank you for hosting us.
You know, I think this is my third episode with two other people, but the previous episodes, they were like in different states. It's the first time that there's like three of us and two of them are in one frame. So this is so exciting. If you could just first please introduce yourselves to everybody.
Sure. Yeah. You want to go
Yeah,
first?
sure. My name is Betty Nguyen. I'm a fourth year medical student and I'm currently doing a research fellowship at the University of Miami.
Brandon, I'm one of the residents here at the University of Miami. I'm currently a first year resident doing a residency in ophthalmology, which is 4 years total. So we grew up in Southern California. We went to the same high school, the same undergrad. We graduated the same year. She gave a speech at our high school and everyone was like, "This is Betty," and she's amazing. And you know, she and I went to different med schools. She took a year off. I went straight through, and now we're both here in Miami, and we're so grateful for that opportunity. And grateful to be on this podcast with you.
Oh no, thank you, thank you. It's such a small world. So I think I saw Brandon's post on Asian Hustle Network. You know, I have to constantly message Brian and Maggie, the founders of AHN, because I'm like, I keep meeting people out of small worlds. And that's what happened because I saw your post on Facebook where you were talking about the books. And I was like, this is so cute. This is so cool. I mean, we'll talk more about the books, obviously. I think the book that you've created really roots in one thing, which is medicine. And you're obviously, as you have introduced, are both in the medical field. I wanted to know for like individually, where did that inspiration first come from to pursue medicine?
So for me, you can talk to anyone and you'll hear Some people know straight out of the womb, I'm going to be a doctor. I was definitely not that. From an early age, I was always curious and asking questions and interested in science, how the body worked. The immune system was something that was always so fascinating, how, there were so many different organisms that could cause us to be sick, but every single minute of our lives, we were able to fight these infections. And so I actually majored at UCLA in immunology and microbiology, and I did a lot of really cool research. And at some point, I was really considering doing an MD, PhD, because I was so interested in advancing the science behind medicine, which is really the foundation of every medical practice and new therapy that we have. But then what I really fell in love with was when I started volunteering in the hospital, which was very close to UCLA, where I did my undergrad, Ronald Reagan UCLA Medical Center. I volunteered as part of a stroke team, and we worked as clinical research associates and shadowed neurologists. And I think the biggest thing was just seeing the impact that all those doctors had on patients' lives. Patients coming in with strokes who, one day they were completely functional, and then I would see patients come in with weakness in their right side, left side, inability to talk, their sort of functionality decreases, and then they get treatment with these very cool, innovative therapies that they have these days, like thrombectomies and clots can dissolve these clots, and the difference is amazing. And that's with sort of any medical specialty you go into. And it's rewarding, it's meaningful. You sort of spend the rest of your life improving the quality of lives of others. And so that was probably the biggest thing that made me go into medicine and inspires me to continue on this journey as I currently am as a resident. A little bit about my story.
Yeah, Brandon, his journey to medicine has been so incredible to just witness over the years. I think my story was a little more different. So I grew up in a family where my parents didn't have the opportunity to get an education. So no one in my family went to college. No one, of course, were doctors. So I never really had that exposure. And in high school, I really enjoyed chemistry. I enjoyed it way more than biology. So I was like, oh, if medicine is anything like biology, then I don't know if it's for me. Like, chemistry sounds way more fun. But I just kept an open mind. I went into college and started volunteering at the Ronald Reagan Hospital, the same one that Brandon volunteered at. And I think over time, I realized that being a doctor is such a rewarding field because you can build relationships with patients and you can follow them up over time. And, I loved seeing the doctors have like a 10 or 20-year relationship with their patients. And I thought that to be able to help them in such a personalized way and also be able to follow up with them over time and really see the impact of your work.
That's amazing. Yeah, I super agree with that. I mean, I feel like especially with the advances we have with like science and medicine now, right? I mean, like what Brandon was talking about was trumpectomies and TPA and also all of your volunteers. I think the field of medicine is so beautiful, but I feel like the journey going towards it is kind of, well, it's not kind of, it's very long and arduous, especially here in the United States, right? It's 4 years of undergrad. Then you take that 8-hour MCAT exam. Then you have 4 years of medical school. And then you have to take 3 step exams and then X amount of years of residency. I know that Brandon is still in his first year of residency and you're also in your 4th year of medical school, but you've been involved in this field for a while now. Do you have any regrets pursuing this long field that continues to be long, even from where you are now?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I have absolutely no regrets. I mean, I think every day me as an intern, yeah, it's tough. There's certain rotations where you work really hard, you get up early, you sometimes stay late, but I think the job itself is so incredibly intrinsically meaningful and rewarding. I'm actually working at a county hospital here in Miami, and so a lot of my patients are uninsured or underinsured, or sort of social support systems, often low health literacy. And a lot of times they come in with chronic health conditions that have progressed because of poor follow up. And just, I think the ability to make such a big difference in their lives, even if it's just a couple of days in the hospitalization, where we connect them with an outpatient provider or make sure that they get the right medication or make sure that they follow up with, their endocrinologist for diabetes. Whatever it is, it's very meaningful. And you kind of come home sort of seeing and sort of feeling all of the cool things you did, the relationships you built with patients. And I don't think you can say that for a lot of jobs. I mean, I have friends in high school, like they've gone into different fields. And I mean, I think all fields are great, but some people show up and go to work and they sit in front of a cubicle. That's not a doctor is. My specialty in particular, ophthalmology, you have sort of a balance of getting patients in clinic and building relationships long term. But I love I played a bunch of instruments growing up, like the guitar, piano, and like video games too. So I love using my hands and fingers. And I started cataract surgery as like on a simulator, and it's just so fun. It's like a video game. Obviously, surgery is not a video game, but it's pretty cool. And then the next day, cataract surgery, like they have 20/20 vision, and so it's just incredible. I mean, to make this difference in patients' lives, and a field of constant learning too. I mean, I is reading and learning, and the field of medicine is constantly advancing. Technology improving. What we did 10 years ago is not what we do today, and that's resulting in patient outcomes. So honestly, it's just such a blessing. And I mean, we can talk about the books more later, but that's what sort of inspired us, because we want to inspire other people to go.
Yeah, I agree with everything that Brandon said. And one of my mentors told me something that was really helpful, because I was intimidated and like overwhelmed by the amount of schooling and all the tests that you have to take. But they were all just telling me that if you look up at a mountain, of course it's going to be intimidating. But if you just look at the step ahead of you and just keep taking those steps, you'll reach the top of the mountain and not even realize what you've just gone through. So I think just taking it a day at a time and one step at a time, and not getting overwhelmed by the overall journey.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's very encouraging and inspiring to hear both of you. I was talking to Dr. Randy Wu. She's a LASIK surgeon from LA. And I said, did any of your childhood hobbies help at all? She said, honestly, me playing piano growing up. She said each time she's sitting down and doing LASIK, she can just remember when she was a child, like being forced to take piano lessons. So it's just so interesting to hear about that. But you're both so accomplished. I mean, we have an ophthalmology resident here. And how about you, Betty? Do you know like what field you want to get into specifically?
So I'm currently doing a research fellowship in dermatology. I'm planning to apply in 6 months.
There we go. That's so exciting. This is why we're also gonna meet this weekend in Boston. We'll talk about that later. Backtrack to the Facebook thing. The world is so small. Betty is actually the cousin of my friend Karen, who I went to Las Vegas with last year. And it's so funny. So what happened was I saw Brandon's post on Asian Hustle Network. And I messaged him. I was like, this is so cool. And as we delve into the books now too, is I grew up with, my mom has been a nurse for 30 years. So growing up, it's like she'll always tell me about what's going on at work and stuff like that. And I was like, this is so cool. And it's kind of creepy at the same time, talking about human bodies. But I would have encyclopedias at home, and also dictionaries. And the dictionaries have like pictures of like the bones, stuff like that. And I was like, this is so cool. But I had no access to like any books like written for children that's specifically about the human body. If there is one, it's like it's located in the middle of a children's encyclopedia. So when I saw Brandon post, I was like, this is so cool. I'm going to message him. I'm going to talk to him more about it because I'm so interested in it. And then when I saw the Instagram page, I saw, oh, it's followed by my friend Kimmy and Karen. I was like, do they know each other? And then I messaged Kimmy, and Kimmy was like, wait, that's Karen's cousin. Betty's Karen's cousin. So it's such a small world. And the book that we're talking about is it's the cutest thing ever. You're the ones who made this, and I can't imagine how fulfilling and rewarding this is. Can you talk more about these books? And obviously it's a series, Medical School for Kids. Where did this inspiration come from to start these books?
Yeah. So honestly, I think for both of us, it was just our love for the medical field and the fact that we wanted to share it with everyone. For me personally, we were actually visiting in California. My sister lives in Sacramento, and she has a 3-year-old and then a 1-year-old. And we were visiting, and they were reading, and they're I don't know, these kids these days are so smart and they know so many things. He was talking dinosaurs and which ones are omnivores and herbivores and naming them. Was like, man, like if my nephew can name all these things, he can easily name all the parts of the human body, or skin, or the different anatomical regions of the eye. And if that inspires them to learn about medicine, science, or whatever topic they're interested in, then that would be great, because they get that sort of early exposure. And so that was sort of our goal. We wanted to make these medical fields and specialties accessible to people. And so we both thought of making books geared towards our own specialties that we're interested in. So I was interested in ophthalmology, and then Betty wanted to do dermatology. So we each sort of took those books under our wing and, worked together with writing them. Betty did a lot of the hard lift, the heavy lifting for sure with writing these books, and she's a total all-star. And she is really good at sort of making the books cute and fun and engaging, whereas I'm just trying to like cram as much information into it, and she's like, they don't
They're so cute.
So I think we like balance each other out really.
Yeah, I think, we always joke about the things that we learn in medical school, and we're like, some of this stuff is like not that hard, but it just takes a lot of repetition just to, seeing it over and over again before it sticks. So we were joking, like, I think some of us could have learned this a little bit earlier on before medical school. We're like, why not teach it to kids? I think kids have such a great memory, and if they read these books multiple times, like they'll start picking up on these things. And for me, it was such a great idea because I grew up not having doctors in the family to look up to or anyone in the healthcare field. So I think just not having role models and not having any exposure to the field of medicine made the decision to go into medicine a little more scary. I had no idea what medical school looked like. I just heard about how hard it was, but I didn't know if I could personally handle it. And I didn't know anyone who had gone through it. So I think having these books for children at a young age, starting to expose them to these concepts and ideas can help them really envision a future in the field and not be intimidated or scared.
Growing up with my mom, who has been a nurse for the past 30 years, I would always take an adventure in her bookshelf filled with nursing and medical textbooks, encyclopedias, and various human anatomy posters. I still remember perusing through an encyclopedia as a 6-year-old, trying to look for pictures of eyes and muscles, attempting to pronounce their lengthy names since I could not really understand the explanations about the different body parts. Despite the myriad of children's books with topics ranging from magical universities to talking animals and the different types of rocks, there weren't really any books on the workings of the human body when I was a child, for children. Written by physicians, Dr. Betty and Dr. Brandon, the Medical School for Kids book series now provides a charming, easy-to-understand introduction to the wonders of the medical field. These books feature beautiful illustrations and simple explanations, teaching children and adults alike about the anatomy, physiology, and diseases of the body. From distinguishing a normal mole from melanoma, to discovering the importance of eating healthy food for heart health, to knowing the vital signs that are monitored in the operating room, people of all ages can truly learn something new through these books, as they are designed to teach real medical concepts to readers of all ages in ways that anyone can understand. Take an educational adventure into the intricacies of every organ system of the human body. Paperback copies of the books are available for purchase on Amazon.com and eligible for 2-day Prime delivery. Kindle versions of the books are also available on Amazon and free with Kindle Unlimited. You can also visit the website md4kids.org for more information. Get ready for an adventure on the medical school bus! As someone with acne and blemish-prone skin, facial scarring and hyperpigmentation have always been my issues since high school. Acne has robbed me of my self-confidence throughout my schooling years, and having its visible reminders on my face to this day continues to do so. But I have found silver linings of hope having used Rescue MD's DNA Repair Complex Serum. Plastic surgeon developed, Rescue MD seeks to harness the powers of science and 2 decades of patient experience in providing a multi-benefit skin renewal serum that provides real results and improves the appearance of visible skin damage. Beyond my personal skin concerns, the serum also seeks to address a breadth of damage from varying external stressors, including hypertrophic and surgery scars, burns and chemical burns, cuts, scrapes, and bug bites. All of these are targeted by supporting the skin's natural healing process through its infusion with Rescue MD's patented Lapcol, a proprietary anti-inflammatory skincare technology that targets skin damage at the DNA level. The serum also contains a hand-selected blend of other ingredients such as peptides to help strengthen the skin, botanicals like rosehip to soothe, and moisturizing agents such as dimethicone and allantoin that helps to speed up skin recovery. The DNA Repair Complex Serum has been my daily friend, and every day, I feel like I can take back what my scars have stolen from me. Definitely, each skin is different and results are not guaranteed, but I hope that you can find your silver lining too. In partnership with Rescue MD, you can get 15% off your order on rescuemd.com with the code FOF15. The serum is also now available on bloomingdales.com. Discover what healthy skin healing means with Rescue MD.
What was the process of creating the books itself? Like, for sure, there's illustrations in it, and it's a paperback. How was that mixing that with school and also residency at the same time?
Oh man, it's definitely tough. We've been working on this starting last year, basically. So, I mean, we've been talking about this sort of project for like over a year now. And then we started brainstorming and then really started working on writing, finding illustrator, figuring out how to go about publishing, sort of weighing the different publishers and sort of how to go through, paperback versus hardback, board book. We were also considering, okay, maybe for like babies, have little board books, but eventually we wanted
Yeah.
picture book for ages like 4 to 8 or 9 or 10 because we thought it would be more informative and we wanted to sort of make these books as informative but also engaging as possible. Yeah, I mean, it was tough. I mean, actually Betty helped a lot with like sort of figuring out the logistics, figuring out how to like publish. So we published through KDP, which is Kindle Direct Printing on Amazon, and then we hired an illustrator. I think Betty and I sort of would envision what the main messages of the book would be. So like we'd have brainstorm topics. Then we would divide them into different sections. So every book we want to talk about anatomy, some physiology, so how the body like sort of works on its own, and then some pathophysiology, like different diseases. So every book we have, for example, dermatology talks about melanoma, like the ABCDs of melanoma. Ophthalmology talks about cataract, glaucoma, macular. Yep, there it is, melanoma. So we want to talk about all these things and then find pictures, and then we would like sort of sketch like what we want each picture to look like, and then send that information to our illustrator. And then we go to the KDP portal, publish that, format everything. It's a long process.
You can't imagine.
Surprisingly, I didn't realize writing was the quickest and easiest part. It's truly like coming up with the pictures for every sentence that we wrote and then formatting it just to make sure all the pages are perfect. And that took the most time.
Yeah, I mean, it's so informational. But when I was first going through the books, I was like, wow, I wish I had this when I was a kid. Like, it's really like stimulating. Oh my gosh, I want to learn more about this. And obviously, we have two so far. We have ophthalmology and dermatology, which are obviously your respective interests in the field of medicine. Do you have future plans for like to complete the rest of the body systems?
Yeah, absolutely. Our goal is to make one for every specialty out there. Very ambitious goal for our schedules, but
I know.
do this over the years. We have neurology for kids coming out very soon, so stay tuned.
So excited.
Stay tuned.
Exactly. Also, cardiology for kids.
Cardiology.
We're writing radiology right now.
And as well as neurology for kids. And hopefully we'll just keep on writing these books for every medical specialty. And any kid who wants to learn about any specialty can just sort of pick one and learn more.
Yeah. It's super, super, super beautiful. And I mean, the illustrations are like amazing. It's complex enough to be so physically accurate, but also it's like so bright and so nice that kids really will love it. What's your vision, do you think, for these books? I mean, obviously it's to stimulate pursuit of medicine, interest in children. What do you think these books, or what do you hope these books will actually do, both short term and long term, I guess?
I mean, our goal, first of all, is to provide educational resources for any kid who wants to learn about science and medicine. If you try to look at, let's say a kid wants to learn more about the eye, about how normal vision works, or they're curious about how a pair of glasses fixes vision. And if you try to go and find a book that explains ophthalmology in simple terms to kids, that doesn't exist. And same thing with for dermatology. I mean, there's books geared towards people who are in medical school or undergrads who want to learn about optics, but nothing geared for a 4 to 8-year-old. And so, like I said, I want books that. So I have 4 nephews now, and Betty has plenty of children in her family too. And like I said, they're just sponges of information. If you can sort of expose them to things from an early age, and if it's something that they can develop an interest in, obviously they're not going to become experts in dermatology reading this book, but
Why not?
so hopefully they learn something new. But we really just want that spark, that spark their, oh, this is really cool. Wow, medicine is actually really interesting. And then we really hope our book is just a springboard for them to express curiosity even more.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like people, well, at least for me, right, my interest in the medical field was really rooted in my exposure to it from my mom, who's in the healthcare field. But there's so many children out there who have no exposure to medicine at all because none of their family members are within healthcare, or they grew up in areas in the world who have no near access, like geographically, right, to any hospital or clinics or any centers. But to have like a book that's tangible and that they could easily read with that's so easy to digest. It's like so exciting to make you think of, oh wow, this will really spark interest in these children. And then you know how I think it was last year or the last medical school cycle, they were like, oh, we have a rise in medical school applicants because of Dr. Fauci. One day it's gonna be like, oh, we have a rise in medical school applicants because of medical school for kids.
Chris, you are too kind.
You never know. I can just sense how much fun you're having writing these books, though. Because again, I can imagine how stressed and busy you are with school and residency. But do you treat it just like, oh, it's a pastime, it's just like our fun time, and then we actually make it into a book? Like, how creative are you for you to do that, right?
Honestly, a lot of our Friday and Saturday nights were spent doing this, and we had a lot of fun, learning how to use Photoshop.
Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah, for sure. Honestly, a lot of times I'll have like one day off because I'm working on the inpatient wards, and a lot of day off will be catching up on errands, doing laundry, going to the grocery store, and then
Yeah.
working. And it's very
Yeah.
fun because especially when we write, it's like we actually learn like about those fields more, like critically
Mhm.
about what are
Mhm.
the important things that we think kids should know. So like
Yeah.
for derm, we really wanted to focus on skin safety. So like our
Yeah.
last page is about the importance of wearing sunscreen. And there's like
Mhm.
of a dark skinned individual and a light skinned individual because
Mhm.
there are misconceptions that people with darker skins don't need to
Mhm.
wear. That's definitely not the case. And they're
Mhm.
both wearing so sun safety, recognizing melanoma. So we always really just think about, important things. For our neurology book, we're going to have the signs of a stroke, for example, what to look for and the importance of
Yeah.
calling away because it's an
Mhm.
emergency. We'll include that information in the cardiology book about a heart
Mhm.
attack. We talk about glasses in the ophthalmology book and because
Mhm.
everyone's,
Yeah.
it's really fun. And I don't know, I have a lot of fun
I
doing
can tell.
it.
Yeah, and actually, that's why I was wondering too. Like, I mean, obviously, every specialty have their own list of like conditions and pathologies. And I was like, how do they decide what to focus on the book? Because obviously, the dermatology book, like you said, is about skin safety, like skin cancer and sunscreen, but it doesn't, talk about the other things. So, what's that process of focusing on this one specific topic regarding that body system?
Yeah, I think as Brandon was mentioning, some of the you can't miss this diagnosis kind of
Yeah,
thing,
yeah, yeah,
like the strokes, the heart attacks, the melanomas, the things that as doctors we're trained, like, if there's anything you can't miss, don't miss
yeah,
this.
yeah.
The kids can learn, and maybe in the future the parents can also learn with the kids as they're reading it to the children. And if, God forbid, anyone's families are affected by
Yeah.
it, hopefully they are a little more knowledgeable about what to look out for.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And also we tried to keep things like simple too. So there are rare diseases out there that
Yeah.
kids probably don't even need to know about or learn about. So
Yeah.
we don't most common things. Like in ophthalmology, there's like 500 different diseases that are just like the retina. But we
Yeah.
just macular degeneration,
Yeah.
cataracts, and sort of how they're treated because those are the most common. And I'm
Mhm.
sure we'll know plenty of people in their family. I mean, everyone eventually will get a cataract and will
Yeah.
eventually.
Yeah. Even having the words like recognized, right? Like, oh, I know what a stroke is. Oh, I know what a heart attack is. Oh, I know what to look out for and stuff like that. I feel like those are so, so helpful. And it's great that we have resources like these, right? Like your books. And the fact that it was number one on new releases on Amazon, like that was just a few days after the release. Is that correct?
Yeah, yeah. No, we're super happy. We're so stoked. We're like sharing
Yeah.
that.
I mean, it just lets you know that there's really nothing like it, like in the market right now, right? Like parents for sure have been looking for things like this for these children. I mean, even when I was talking to Dr. Joyce Park, too, with MD, when I was introducing her to the book, she was like, "Oh my gosh, there's such things." So we can just tell that even the experts of the field, there's nothing like this for kids yet. And finally we have it, which is I'm so excited for it. I'm telling you, will be the top 10 causes for a rise in medical school applicants sometime decades from now. It's great talking about the field of medicine and how interesting it is, and it's just a lifelong learning, and it's so exciting, right? But I think stepping aside from for a bit about the kids part of the books, both of you are so ingrained in the medical sphere, right? You're a medical student and you're a medical resident, and I think you see the brokenness that the healthcare world has. Like I told you in the message before, that Forbes recently released this study by Elsevier Health that around 75% of healthcare workers are planning to quit or whatnot by 2025. And I think COVID has like unearthed a lot of the problems of the medical system, the system itself. Well, we have books here that's encouraging kids, right, to learn more about medicine, to learn more about the human body. And this is actually one question that I hear a lot from pre-nursing students who are asking me, like, is it still worth it to go into the field of healthcare despite how broken it is? For a book that's encouraging kids to learn more about medicine, what do you hope these books will do in this current sphere of medicine, healthcare that's full of brokenness and flaws?
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, you bring up a lot of really good points. I think the healthcare field is not perfect. There are plenty of shortcomings, and we battle with that every day. You know, a lot of times patients we face, for example, just to give you some concrete, you know, a lot of the patients that we see in the hospital are underinsured, uninsured, or
Yeah.
homeless. We get a lot of pressure actually every day from the higher ups, even the CMO, to sort of discharge patients, you know, even if we don't have all their like lab tests. And there's sort of a preferential treatment for, you know, if patients do have insurance or under,
Mm-hmm.
you don't get follow up. And I think that's that sort of social aspect of medicine. And there's other things as well, but those things are very difficult because we're just here trying to take care of the patient as best as we can, but
Mm-hmm.
they can't get the follow up they need because they lack insurance. But the reason they lack insurance is rooted in all these other sort of social issues that we don't have direct control over. And so, you know, I see people in the emergency department as well, working with physicians there where burnout is fairly high. They work long shifts, 8 to 12 hours, sometimes even longer, and they're seeing patients back to back. Sometimes there are patients who come in and they are not always sort of the most easy patients to deal with. It can be taxing, and you know, and that applies to the nurses, the security guards, everyone there. But you know, that 75% or 72% of me personally, with all of my experience, like talking to nurses, and yeah, we all kind of, you know, occasionally we'll have like bad days. Like,
Yeah.
oh my, this patient in the ED, you know, such, you know, so rude to us, or whatever it is, or we have to stay so late for our shifts.
Mm-hmm.
And I talked to my residents. I mean, none of us are quitting medicine by 25. So I really, and I have some family members. I think actually it's, I mean, I don't know a single person who's planning to quit. But
Mm-hmm.
that makes for different specialties, different fields within
Yeah.
the health. There's challenges with any field, and you know it's a long journey for sure. But I think the rewards and the intrinsic meaningfulness of the
Mm-hmm.
career greatly outweigh any of the
Yeah.
detriment training or sort of the arduousness of certain days in the
Mm-hmm.
hospital. So that's my take. And because I am so ingrained in that feeling that medicine is so worth it, you know, I have no problem. And I hope that if these books encourage kids to go into medicine, they won't regret it because they'll
Yeah.
be like, I read that book and, you know, why
Yeah.
am I, you know, you know, we really don't think that will happen. And I mean, we surely hope it will. But
Yeah, it's interesting to hear Brandon's perspective as a physician. I'm still in school, and I think it's been really nice to see that there's a lot of medical students across the board advocating for wellness and
Mm-hmm.
advocating for a change in the culture of the system. I know classmates are doing amazing work on that, and you know, because of all the advocacy that's been done, step one is now pass fail, and before
Yeah.
that, huge stressor in medical students'
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
lives. So I think medicine is and now, you know, most of the classes during the first and second year are purely pass fail at a lot of
Mm-hmm.
medical schools. So I think overall, medicine can be slow to change, but so inspired to see all the efforts and the actual changes that have actually happened in system and the pipeline to becoming a doctor.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I really like what Brandon said too with the intrinsically, like the value of medicine. I think the system itself is broken, but intrinsically, like the goals and the visions of the field itself, it's so beautiful. And I think that's what these books are for, right? Is to stimulate that love for medicine so that future doctors can come and help change the system, right? I think one day, if any of you are on the admissions committee, you'll read personal statements. And I mean, inevitably so, there'll be personal statements will be like, oh, my first exposure to medicine was reading this book for kids, right? And I'm just manifesting it right there. It's different when things start when you're so much younger, right? And it's great for kids to see, like, obviously the truths behind the brokenness of medicine, but it's also just great to read and to learn about the human body. And even if some kids who read the books don't pursue medicine at all, right? Just the fact that they can see the signs of stroke or of a heart attack, like, that's a huge, huge, huge benefit to it. Actually, I was reading the dermatology book and it was raining outside the other day, and I was like, wow, this is so nice. This is so calming, and it's just it gives you so much. I love children's books, and so when I saw this, I was like, okay, this is my new repeat book. If someone asks me, oh, what's the most recent book you read? Have you heard of Medical School for Kids? you know,
All throughout high school and bouts of college, I suffered from severe acne. I cried almost every day looking at the mirror. I wore hoodies during the summer to hide my cheeks. When my mom asked me what I wanted for my birthday, all I wished for was a visit to the dermatologist. I tried so many products and saw so many estheticians, physicians, and other advanced providers. But I know that my mere access to these products and providers is a privilege. Many who suffer from acne and other skin conditions live in many underserved populations where access to dermatology specialists can be difficult due to limited resources. To help bridge this divide, Ben Abadia, a dermatology nurse practitioner, recently launched Your Skincare Expert's Derm course, which can allow other specialties to provide comprehensive care to patients through dermatology in places where access may be limited. The course can also be used to help better train extended providers within the field of dermatology to feel confident and empowered in their knowledge. From fortifying skin anatomy to identifying skin types and concerns, breaking down acne, building skincare routines, and going over active ingredients, the course seeks to further knowledge on skincare, anti-aging, acne, and overall holistic skin health. Friends of Franz is partnering with Your Skincare Expert so that you can get 10% of the course with the code Franz, that's FRANZ, or visit yourskincareexpert.com/Franz. My skin and my life were changed by the right products and the right people. Through this course, I hope that this would also be made possible for others. Anyone who knows me knows that I love boba. After a heavy dinner? No problem. I have a second stomach for boba, and sometimes even a third. But each cup of bubble tea is definitely a guilty pleasure, given that the average cafe-made milk tea has over 100 calories per serving, over 20 grams of high glycemic sugar, and is packed with artificial flavors. I am so glad that the guilty days are over with Twirl, the world's first canned, plant-based milk tea. With only 45 to 50 calories per serving, and containing 6 to 7 grams of sugar, and low glycemic sweeteners at that, goodbye to sugar crash, Twirl is made with pea milk, the most sustainable plant-based milk on the market, regenerating the soil where it comes from. This is thanks to the fact that fair trade and organic are the names of the game, as the teas are sourced from biodiverse family farms in China, Japan, and Taiwan that practice sustainable farming techniques. No artificial flavors are ever used. Choose from 3 antioxidant flavors of the chocolatey Taiwan-style black milk tea, floral jasmine, and nutty hojicha. Enjoy all of these flavors, each being nitro-infused that you can feel and hear their fresh, silky, and creamy texture with each pop of the can. Let's enjoy tasty, creamy, shelf-stable, and healthy milk tea together for 10% off using the code FRANZ10. That's FRANZ10. Now available on twirlmilktea.com or Amazon. Twirl around in its goodness.
well, obviously, one of your hobbies is creating this book, this amazing new series. But for sure, residency in school still remains to be stressful, even though with a pastime like this. What do you do to decompress out of work or school in times when you're not writing the books?
Yeah, so we do spin together. We also like runs. I love spending time with my family and friends, just catching up with them on the phone or getting outdoors, going for the a hike, going to the beach. Yeah, I also do yoga.
She's a certified yoga instructor. She's like, oh, I do yoga. Like, yeah.
You're certified.
Yeah, but yeah, no, I mean, we do a lot of those things. I mean, we go on runs together. You know, the beach here in Miami is like so close. So a lot of times we'll just run to the beach and then like for the sunset and like look at the sunset and then like run back. It's like, you know, it's awesome. And yeah, we go to this like cycling classes. There's one in like South Beach in Miami that's
Mm,
like on the rooftop of like this condo or something, and you can see the like beach in the distance, and like the
mhm,
instructor music. It's just like such a great time. So we love fitness, like exercise things like get our blood like moving, especially since like at the hospital a lot of times I'm like,
mhm.
I mean, I'm walking around, but I'm not like the most active. You know, you're sitting in front of a computer, orders, and then you walk and see the patient, you like walk back. So yeah, things like that, and like eating, trying new foods here in Miami. We grew up in California where there's a lot of Asian food, especially in Southern
Mhm.
California. Here, there's less of that, but
Yeah,
I think like started trying different types of foods too. There's a
yeah.
lot of food here, which I think we've started to become more and more fond of. So
Mhm.
yeah, there's definitely a lot of things, and we just praying. Betty went
This
to a Miami Heat game like a few months,
mm.
like super random. Like we're just like StubHub or wherever we bought it
Yeah, we
from.
got tickets for $15 and we're
Yes,
like,
like so
let's
we
go.
like showed up on sitting in our seats. Or like, you know, we didn't think you would show up, but
Fun is so important, just taking care of your overall wellness.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
we just
sleep
had
in our
dinner.
yeah. That's a great hobby. We love.
yeah. I am so jealous that, oh, there's a beach nearby. I mean, the
Come visit.
nearest the nearest body of water we have here is the Hudson River, and if I dip my toes right now, I'll probably die of freezing. And also, I had a friend who visited from. They're also a resident in Florida, actually, PM&R, and I said, "Oh, what should we eat?" And he was like, "Asian food for sure." Like, I miss the Asian food from here. Actually, I've never been to Florida. Actually, so I've been to Florida for like 5 hours because I had a flight cancellation, so that was the only time I've ever visited Florida. It was in the airport because of a stopover. I need to visit one day, but
Yeah,
you know,
Yeah, visit us.
come to Miami.
I will for sure. But we all crazy how things play out too because we're actually gonna see each other this Saturday, Boston. Like, what are the odds, right?
That'll be so fun. Yeah,
That's gonna be so fun because you're gonna be the AAD conference, right?
yeah. But he's
Mhm.
presenting. I'm just like tagging along because yeah, I worked because usually I just get one day off a weekend, but I worked like 13 days in a row. So I worked the past weekend so that I could have this weekend off to go to Boston. So she's flying out tomorrow. I'm flying out Friday after work.
What can you say to everybody as a closing regarding your books? I guess also as your closing words for people who want to pursue medicine and for parents who want their kids to learn more about this amazing, amazing field of helping heal and restore people, right?
Yeah. I mean, like I said, our goal with these books is to inspire kids from an early age, spark their curiosity and learning. You know, even if it's one kids who can find something interesting that they learn, and then go out and make an effort to learn more, or maybe find a mentor when they're in high school and reach out to a doctor and they shadow and whatever
Mm-hmm.
it is. It doesn't lead them into medicine, but it sparked their interest in learning, because that's really the purpose of these books, to be educational. Then I think we accomplished our goal. And personally, Betty and I think that it's been such a blessing and to be part of this journey towards medicine. Yes, it's a long journey. It's an arduous journey. It takes many years, and there's stress involved with medical school and exams and residency work. But it's completely 100% worth it. And I am so grateful every day that I have this opportunity to be in medicine and work here and see patients and make a difference in their lives. um, there's no more like meaningful way that I feel like I could spend the rest of my life than to improve the quality of life of others. So that's our hope with these books, to inspire others to learn and to explore their interests and maybe even pursue a career in medicine.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for creating these books, and thank you so much for hanging out with me here. And thank you so much for being the featured causes of the rise in medical school application rates and
No,
mentions.
I want to thank you for hosting us on your channel. I mean,
Of
I think
course.
amazing. Sort of this community. It's crazy how social media makes the world even smaller, and sort
Yeah.
of the that you can build just through things like this and spreading awareness about different causes. And I think all of your podcasts, I mean, I think what you're doing with your podcast and these are incredible. I think you're able to bring together, I don't know honestly how you do this all, working your time job and contacting all these people, and it's honestly incredible, and we're super grateful, and we know how helpful this is for all of your viewers as well, in terms of learning about different
Yeah.
medical.
Thank you so much too. I think this is what I also found in similarity with your books, and I was reading your post on Facebook, was I think information is so crucial and so vital in life. I think we avoid mistakes, we can enrich the lives of others, and we can touch other people like even miles and miles apart with just even just like one sentence of information. And many times the demographics of children are one that's not really given certain information, because I think there's some people who are like, oh, they can't grasp it yet, but by creating it in a form that's easy to digest and that they can enjoy as well, I think it's a really nice way to cultivate learning and the love of learning in children. So thank you so much for making these books. And Betty and Brandon, thank you so much for joining me here. And then I don't have a watch. I was trying to
Yeah,
look at how many days it is until Saturday. Just pretend. And I will see you in 3 days.
Yeah, I just
three
want to
days.
echo what Brandon said. Like, thank
Mhm.
you for your platform with us and for being here. And I think you joke that our books will inspire the next generation of doctors, but I think like your platform will. You have an amazing, like, such great content, such a broad reach in terms of the audience and the content. And I think you're really inspiring the next generation of medical physicians and
Yeah,
nurses and
your effects
practitioners.
will be quicker than ours, because probably the average is a little bit older, so
Yeah.
yours will be in like a couple years. If ours does anything, I'll be like a decade from now. 18
You
years.
know, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna start a longitudinal study of the the numbers of citations in personal statements when it comes to your books, and then we'll see in 30 years how many mentions there will be. But no, honestly, thank you so much for making these books, and thank you so much for sharing the space with me. We have a mission on Saturday to evangelize these books with our beloved dermatologists, and I'll see you both for dinner on Saturday
See you on
in the
Saturday.
flesh.
Thank
Yeah.
you, Chris. See
Thank
you
you.
soon.
Thank you so much for joining me. Good night, everybody.
Thank you. Good
Thank
night.
you.
We have now reached the end of the story. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Friends of Franz. I hope you had an enjoyable adventure learning about our expert guest, their work, and why they do the things that they do. Please check out the rest of the series available on all podcast platforms. Please also consider following the podcast on the platform that you prefer, turn on the alerts for new episodes so you don't miss new stories, and give us a rating to support the show. You can find more updates on the podcast's official Instagram at Friends of Franz Pod, or my personal Instagram at Chris Franz. That's without the I, because there is no I in team. I'm kidding. Someone already took the username. Have a great day or night, everybody!